Here we happen to have John Parker and Sam Willis. Gentlemen, hello. Good you could
Hello.
join us.
Hello, greetings from Wellington, New Zealand. It's Sunday morning here, 10:30, but we didn't want to leave you out, so we are drinking some fine New Zealand beers here. This is a brewery called Parrot Dog, which is just down the road from us in Lyle Bay in Wellington, and is a delicious. I'm having a pilsner. You got a
Yeah,
pilsner as well?
Pilsner,
Yeah.
delicious.
If you can find it wherever you are. Yeah, great New Zealand beer.
It's a fantastic spot down there, and just for you guys coming from Wellington, it's pouring with rain here in Brisbane. So, you've probably got better weather than us for once.
Yeah, it's not bad actually here. Been quite sunny. It was quite good yesterday, but the last week, man alive, it was tough. It was tough.
And is it always windy there, or is that just a rumor?
Well, it's just, I mean, I'm originally from Manchester in the UK, so if you want to know about bad weather, then that's where you go. Wellington's fine. It's lovely.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it when I was there. Yeah, I worked on the second Rings movie, so we're going back many years. Yeah, you'd have just been in school.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, today we wanted to basically give you a quick demo of CineMatch, which is a new product from Film Convert. We've been working on it for about 4 years now, and we just launched it a couple months ago for Premiere and Resolve. Just show of hands, has anybody already kind of checked CineMatch out? Are they aware of it? Like, how much of a kind of overview should we give?
You should give a full overview. You should
All
really
right, okay,
talk a little
cool.
bit about it, and because
Yep.
you should assume that some of us have tried it, but hearing it from you guys is really going to be the best piece of knowledge.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Well, what I'll do is I'll start back at the beginning with, or Sam can give us the overview of who Film Convert is and from where that came out of, where CineMatch came from.
So essentially, it was founded at the start of the digital cinema camera revolution, essentially, and you know these manufacturers, the Red One, Thomson Viper, were offering cheap acquisition for digital cameras rather than film. But the problem filmmakers were finding was they really liked the look of film and they couldn't get it from these cameras. So a couple of smart people in Wellington decided they could profile the sensor characteristics of these cameras and then profile the film stocks and make really accurate transforms between the two. And that's how Film Convert started. And then there was the release of the 5D Mark II, which was this little DSLR that had insane image quality for, I don't know, a camera that was like $5,000 US. And then it was just in the hands of everybody. And then what we realized here is that we could use the exact same technology to transform the look of those cameras to the look of film. So we offered customers the chance to transform the look of their camera to 19 different film stocks. We now have over 100 cameras in our library, and we have an unrivaled library of sensor data that we were able to build CineMatch from. And which brings us on to CineMatch. So, John?
Yeah, so CineMatch is our new product. It's built on the same underlying technology as or the library of camera data that we've assembled for Film Convert, but it's using quite different kind of techniques under the hood to get the best and most accurate camera matching tool we believe is out there on the market. So if you've shot projects or you edited or colored projects where you might have some footage from Sony, Canon, Blackmagic, Arri, Red, bring all those sources in, you'll obviously be aware each of those cameras has different color characteristics. And the first thing you have to do when you bring it into the edit is just get everything color corrected and baseline to a level. And it's a very manual process. It's a very tedious process before you can get onto the creative side of grading. So CineMatch is basically designed to solve that problem. It is as simple as dropping a CineMatch onto the clip in your timeline, choosing what source it was shot on, choosing what you'd like to target, and then in a couple clicks, you can have all your footage kind of aligned and ready to grade as though it was a single source. So now, no matter how many sources you throw at it, whether you have Panasonic, Sony A7S III, all is different, and over 50 cameras supported in CineMatch, all of those can be baseline matched to a single source, like ARRI log C, for example, and then you can grade that as though it was a single source.
Hang on, John. I think somebody's screen sharing.
Oh,
That's not very friendly, is it? Who is that? Gustavo.
It's
Can you
Gustavo.
stop screen sharing, please?
yeah, no worries. Well, what we thought we'd do is we'd do a screen share of our own. Once Gustavo hands back the mic, and we'll show you actually how it works in Resolve. We'll show you a little bit of comparison with color space transform in Resolve, because obviously that's kind of built in. But we'll kind of show you a bit of how Cinematch is such an improvement on that, because we're doing sensor matching rather than just color gamma and gamut matching.
So I'll open that up now. I'm just going to share the screen, and there's a couple of slides here. Just wanted to show everybody. We have basically the first question that we get asked all the time is what makes this different to color space transform, and what makes this different from ACES in terms of camera matching. So here's a little graphic here of just what goes into Cinematch. So the difference is that most of these transforms that you'll see are a color gamut and color gamma transform. So they add those together, which is essentially the color science of the camera. But what Cinematch has done is profiled the sensors of all these different cameras. So we have millions of data points on the sensor characteristics of each camera, and we add that in to the mix. So Cinematch is essentially taking every element that gives a camera a significant look and adds it into our transforms. So here's just a chart that we shot recently. This is on the left, you'll see that's the ARRI Alexa, and on the right is a red. And the red was shot IPP2, so which has a very much a lower middle gray than the ARRI log C. So that's why the exposure's completely out between these patches. But if you were to come into grading, you had both of these cameras, you would go, wow, there's a lot of work to do here. So here's just your basic gamut gamma transform. So you can see the exposures lined up really nicely now, because the gamma has transformed the middle gray from, I think it's around 33 IRE to 41, I think it is for the Alexa. So these patches are lined up in exposure, but it's quite a big color difference between a lot of these patches. This blue is essentially purple on the red now. There's a bit of green tinge in the orange and in the yellow here. Just, it's got you somewhat there, but not all the way that you would need. And then here are the charts with Cinematch applied. So with Cinematch applied, you've got essentially really good colors straight out of the box. It's matching everything up real nicely. So I'll see if I can just flick between the two. So this was color space transform, and here is Cinematch. So you can see it's getting you that extra color match that just isn't quite getting there with color space transform. And that's all due to the amount of data we've captured from these cameras. So what I'll do now is I'll take you into Resolve. Okay, so this is from a shot we did with the lovely Melanie earlier in the year. She was great. And what we've got is, I've tried to set it up so that we've got some shots that are very similar, but on the left-hand side, we've got our A-cam footage, which was shot on the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, great little camera. And on the right is our behind-the-scenes footage that was shot on the Sony a7 III. What I've done with these shots is just apply the manufacturer's D-log just to show you the difference. As you can see, the Sony has got a lot more contrast from the interpretation, and the color balance is it's just not got a great, like, matching these two up, you need to do a lot of work. So I'll just open up a version I've done with Cinematch. And this is Cinematch applied to each clip. So as you can see, the gammas are lining up really nicely. We've got nice skin tones across the two. The skirt's coming out really nice, these greens, and her hair and things like that, the C in the corner. And that is a transform and some basic primary controls. I'm just going to move this out of the way. So what I've done here is I've applied Cinematch to each shot, because on this first shot, I can apply Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and then I don't need to apply a transform, but these primary controls are mapped to our data from the Blackmagic 4K. And that means that as soon as you apply that, you get the correct 709 transform. This exposure slider is mapped to the response of the camera, and you get tint and temperature controls. And what I've done here for this first shot is just I've used our false color, our skin tone exposure false color, to just put that on the clip and go, well, I want her skin tones to be at the right level, and that in this false color is orange. So I've just boosted that exposure up a little bit. That's what it looked like to begin with. And I've just boosted that up so that we're getting nice skin tones coming through. I'll take that off. I'm happy with that shot, and I'm ready to go to my B cam and match that to the Blackmagic. So here I've got my source camera as the A7 III, S-Log3 S-Gamut Cine. And this time I've chosen a target profile. Now, just to give you an example of the cameras that we currently support, this is the manufacturer's list, and I could choose any of these. Our transforms are two ways. So I choose any camera as my source camera, and I choose any camera as my target camera, you're going to get the same results. So Blackmagic, we currently offer all these cameras, and then the whatever log profile is on the camera at the time. So what you'd get when I'll just reset all this and do this again so I can really show you how I got that match. So straight out of the box, we're already looking pretty good. That's without any primary controls. It seems to have matched up the color really nice, but I want to match the skin tone exposure that was on the left-hand side. So I'll add the false color on again, just lift this up until there is orange on the face. And I can go over to my first shot and throw a false color on over there and just have a look and say, yeah, the left-hand side of the face is looking pretty orange. So I'm happy with that. I'll take that off, this off there. Yeah, it's looking good. And then I can use the false colors are essentially for if you're not around a monitor that you trust or something like that. Obviously, I know a lot of people, a lot of this group will just do it by eye, but it's just to give you an example of how easy they are to use. I can check the color balance between these shots by just throwing on the false color temperature that we have designed, and we can see that maybe the Sony's a little bit hot. So I'll go through this. Like, you can see the color balance just showing up on here, and then so if I go maybe off the wall at the back, I think that color balance is pretty good. And then we got the same with tint over here, which just gives you an example of where the tint balance is currently sitting. And I'll show you again with this slider. As you can see, as I go over to green, we're getting a lot more green, obviously, and then over to magenta, a lot more magenta. So maybe just pick a nice neutral spot because it's pretty good already. And then you take that off, you've got a good match to work with. And the same's happened on these shots at the bottom. Blackmagic is on the left again, and our behind the scenes cameras on the right. I chose this shot because here's a really good example of the power of this exposure slider. So the shot is shot about 2 stops over because just our videographer wanted to not go into the noise floor of that shot. So, but that's no problem when you've got Cinematch. You can just bring it right down. It brings it aligns it perfectly with the camera's response curve. So you're getting what the camera, how the camera should be changing in stops rather than just a generic exposure difference. And of course, this means that with the power of Cinematch, it means that you don't really need to just choose a target and that's already on your timeline. So what I've done here is I've just applied each camera I've turned into an ARRI Alexa color science. And you can see, even though this is in log right now, you can see that all the cameras have lined up really nicely for ARRI color science. And then you could then take the ARRI color science and then apply film convert nitrate as your entire scene. And this is the same settings with film convert on each one of these. Each one has been converted to ARRI, and then just one scene adjustment, all on the same. It's all looking good. You've got that nice film look now, and you can then go from there and really work on your creative grade. So it's all about giving you a really good foundation to then go to work on your creative grade.
Gentlemen,
Okay,
we've got
sorry.
a couple questions in the chat, and I figured there'd be a
Great.
great time for you to answer them.
Great.
What's the price of this? And then is it a subscription fee or is it a license?
It's a one-off fee. You can go and purchase it today from Cinematch. We have plugins for Premiere and Resolve at the moment. I believe the current price for the plugin is $199 US. But again, that's one-off fee. And one important thing with Cinematch is that we're going to be continuing to add new cameras to the software every month. So just in the past couple of weeks, we added 8 new cameras: the Sony A7S III, the Canon C70, 2 of the Z-Cam range, and we've got a number of cameras in the pipeline to add. So the product is going to be continually expanding. We're going to be adding more and more support, and all of those cameras will be compatible with the full range that are already in the plugins. So if you don't see your camera on the list right now, know that we will probably be adding it in the upcoming months.
Sure. David asked, how does Cinematch handle tone and gamut mapping? Is it built in or configurable similar to CST?
So it's currently not built in. It's the tone mapping is directly to the camera response that we're getting. So that's to the information that we've gathered. It's essentially a transform of, like, if the camera sees it, then the transform will happen to how the camera sees it rather than those extra bells and whistles on the side. So it really depends on how the camera is, but we're always open to adding new controls. So as it's a very new product, we'll probably be looking into features like that that make the control for the user even better.
Sure. And is the signal clipped at all after the Cinematch node?
So say again, sorry.
Is the signal clipped at all after the Cinematch node?
And if you apply the 709 transform,
Yep.
it will be, but if you go out in log, you're fine.
Sure. And then the one that goes with it is how does it work well with inside of Aces?
With the Aces, we're essentially looking into Aces because essentially with the color managed projects, your effects will work differently. So there is workarounds for you to use Cinematch in Aces. You could match the cameras beforehand and then apply an Aces transform afterwards, and you'd have your matched cameras within Aces. But we're kind of looking into the best way that we could have full Aces integration. Right now, it's just because it's essentially it's its own color managed system. DaVinci RGB project setting is the best.
I have to say, gentlemen, I did try using Cinematch to get some more obscure cameras into Aces by converting them to match something like Arri Log C, and that works fantastically well. Really works well.
Yeah, we've had that for a few people, Nikon and things like that. It works really well. We'd like to be able to offer better integration in the future. But obviously, like you just said, there is workarounds and they work.
So the one other question, because we should do our giveaway, because this is
Great.
really impressive, this technology here. And I sadly, I'm sorry to ask the question. Does it come in a Linux feature? Is that on the roadmap?
Not yet. We will be doing a version for Final Cut Pro. That's kind of the next in the pipeline for development. And then kind of if we see, it's kind of on demand. If we see a lot of people requesting it, then we'll certainly consider it.
Okay. Guys, it's amazing. Let's do our giveaway here.